I'm standing here today in what is becoming a common scenario across the farming landscape. Behind me, you'll see a farmer is trying to farm a given commodity, in this case, Enlist corn. And right next door is a pollinator habitat that was intentionally planted to ensure environmental diversity and sustainability as it relates to pollinators. First and foremost, educating oneself on the pollinator's needs for food and shelter is a critical aspect, regardless if you're applying Enlist 1 or Enlist Duo, but any pesticide or herbicide in agriculture here today. I'm going to go over briefly just a few of the key best management practices as it relates to farming next to pollinators. 1. Understanding the pollinator's need for food, shelter, and risk aspects in your operation. Understanding when a pollinator is out feeding and what food sources they have is absolutely critical. By understanding these factors, we can potentially minimize the times we're out applying a herbicide or a pesticide, which may have a negative consequence on a pollinator. At the same time, by understanding the risks associated in your operation and the habitat needs of a pollinator, we can inadvertently not make applications so that we can protect their habitat or other risk factors. 2. Understanding the label and understanding recommendations. Many of our modern labels today, including Enlist 1 or Enlist Duo, and the management resources we have developed, all take into consideration not only how to achieve exceptional weed control, but how we can do it safely to ensure that we're cohabitating with our pollinators out there so we do not have negative or adverse effects. And third, understanding the non-farmland areas in your operation, be that wild flower areas, edge of field practices, or hedge and fence row areas. All of these areas can be areas for habitat for pollinators, while at the same time, by ensuring that we have more pollinator habitat, we can minimize the negative impact on the areas you're actively trying to farm. Now, those are just a few of the best management practices, and there are many others out there as it relates to pollinators when you're trying to farm next to their habitat. You may be asking yourself, well, how does Enlist 1 or Enlist Duo, or how does even Corteva Agriscience actually approach pollinators and endangered species? So let's talk about that just briefly. First, in January 11th of 2022, Enlist 1 and Enlist Duo received their registration amendments that allowed us for a 7-year registration. That's great news for the American farmer, as it not only builds confidence in this technology, but it assures this technology is around for the long haul. As it relates to pollinators specifically, you will see that the EPA and Corteva Agriscience, we moved down our application window in 2 of our crops. As we talk about soybeans specifically, E3 soybeans, the application window now is all the way to R1 or through R1. By minimizing and going that lack of 7 days through the R2 growth stage, we did not have to remove or move backwards, I should say, because of a crop tolerance or off-target movement. Those were never considerations that we had to worry about. Actually, the reason we've done that is to minimize the likelihood of making an application when pollinators would be out actively foraging. Another key component in Enlist 1 and Enlist Duo herbicide is the Colex-D technology. Enlist 1 and Enlist Duo both contain Colex-D. It's automatically in the formulation. By utilizing these herbicides with the approved nozzles, we give a 90% reduction in drift as compared to traditional forms of 2,4-D and the older nozzles. By not only achieving exceptional weed control, we can minimize the likelihood of having that off-target movement into a habitat where pollinators may be actively foraging or living. And third, we at Corteva Agriscience continue to conduct studies and research to ensure that not only are we not having a negative effect on pollinators or endangered species, but also to ensure that cohabitation. We're trying to give the best of both worlds, offer a technology to our customers to not only provide exceptional weed control and do it in a neighbor-friendly approach, but at the same time be neighbor-friendly to those pollinators. For more information around pollinators or endangered species, please visit us at www.enlist.com and see some of our resource guides so that you can make some improvements in your operation for the upcoming season.